Abstract Transmissions.
And hello, thank you for listening to Abstract Transmissions. Today we have the one and only Matt Connarton. Thank you so much for coming on today. Again, we've been meaning to do this for a little bit because of some of the crazy shit that's happened recently. Politics, the world of politics.
I wish I was the one and only. There is another Matt Connarton, but he's my uncle. He's my uncle, so it doesn't count.
The one and only radio personality, Matt Connarton.
That's true. Yes.
Unless he's also running a radio station, then I mean, what are you going to do? You know, then you're really in competition.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. Yeah, well, you know, when
it's like underground running it.
Well, I sort of had to compete with him to get my show because, you know, my show, Matt Connarton Unleashed, when the radio station was advertising that they were going to be starting this show and they needed a host, I decided to audition because I was like, you know, my name is Matt Connarton, and turned out they were more interested in my uncle, but he lives an hour away, so I got the gig.
Oh wow! Is he in politics as well?
No, I made all that up.
Oh,
but yeah, I just think it's a fun story.
Dude, you seriously had me. I'm usually not the first to get on the gullible train, but today is it's been a wild day. I'm not gonna lie. It's been interesting. I had a rough day earlier. I was supposed to have practice earlier, and fucking just pain was really awful. And then on top of it, the kiddo has just been having a hard time with school and stuff. So the later nights on Thursdays aren't so great. And between that and the pain stuff, like I usually try to keep him out till the latest, 9, and then we get back. But I try to make practice 6 to 8 once a week, but it's tough when we do it on a Thursday instead of like a weekend. But
what project is it?
Oh, so this is for Ambient Discord.
Okay.
So it's right now it's a 3-piece, but we're talking about we've been talking for a while about having lead. Matt Fogg was doing lead for a little bit right before things got not so great with his health, and then he ended up selling his equipment and just since then we've been doing the 3-piece thing for a while. So it's alternative rock, and our listeners have heard a little bit about it. I don't go into it often. I probably should talk about it a little bit more than I do, but
definitely.
It's definitely a different can of worms for me than Unrest in Transit was. You got to hear that in its heyday. It was definitely like a metal grindcore kind of influence thing, where this is like verse, chorus, verse, like 90s rock, I guess, would be the closest thing that I could equate it to, probably. But yeah.
You?
Oh, I lost you there for a second. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
No, I was asking if you have anything recorded for that project.
We don't have any recordings right now online. Sorry, it cut out for a second. It got all like bogged down. I think it was just data speed or something. We don't have anything up right now other than videos that we've just kind of recorded ourselves, because we want to make sure the material that we have, that we release it, is the quality that we expect out of it. We could release kind of the more DIY stuff that we've done right now, but we definitely know that it has more potential than what we've kind of done with it. So we're tossing the idea, do we take the tracks that we have now and send them over to somebody who can edit the work, mix and master it better than we have so far? Or do we take it and kind of pump it out as something kind of passed out temporarily until we have the album stuff finished? But at this point, I think that, I don't want to speak for the rest of the guys, but we definitely need material out, and we're trying to push it for earlier than this summer, because obviously this summer is going to be a big summer for music. Things are going to start going back to normal somewhat, and people are going to be wanting music, live music specifically. So I'm excited for that for sure, but I want to make sure that we have material out there. So you can catch a couple of videos and stuff online on the Ambient Discord page, but it's kind of a live sound format. We did record tracks in and stuff, but it's our representation of us. I think that the live material tends to be a little bit better than pre-recorded material for a lot of bands.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean that's always been my favorite format for
Yeah.
like recording and all that. But yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Matt Blanchett over at Revelry Studios, and we were talking about kind of the format of recording. A lot of bands, prefer doing live recording versus tracked recording, and he's got some really amazing stuff. Have you heard any of the stuff coming out of his studios, out of
Not
Revelry?
re- no, not recently.
It's really impressive.
I I hear about that studio a lot, but I don't think I've heard anything specific that's come out of it.
If you get a chance, go check it out on their the website revelrystudios.com. I'm pretty sure is what he said yesterday. I'd have to double check, but we'll try to put that in the link for the video before. But yeah, as we were talking, it's funny. It got me thinking about the local outbreak thing, and how local bands, it's tough because right now nothing's really local community because nobody's playing shows. Everything's done
Right.
virtually, Zoom, contest shows, and I mean, I would say the big change in like concerts and whatnot virtually has changed the music landscape for entertainers pretty ruggedly. So I mean, I think that the music community locally just kind of struggles with that because a lot of it's in person, people meeting, playing shows together, and not having that has been, I think, incredibly I think just detrimental to the mental positivity of the music community locally. I mean, I don't know, maybe it'll cause it to supercharge. We'd seen the decline in kind of this
Mhm.
complacency in local music for, in my opinion, for a good steady 10 years. And that started to go up a little bit back around 2012, 2013. And I think certain areas it's impacted, harder than others. Manchester's done really well, keeping it, staying consistent. The Seacoast struggled with it a lot. But I think that, local musicians kind of get stuck indoors for a long time. It makes for really good music,
Mhm.
for writing at least. And then when it comes to time to play shows and whatnot, again, I think that there's just going to be this blast of newer music onto the scene. A lot of people are going to be really excited to get out and see music. So I'm hoping that that'll just kind of catalyze, be a catalyst for musicians locally at least.
I think so. Everywhere, locally, nationally,
Yeah.
in every way. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
definitely.
I think that a lot of times people go out and they'll spend money at a, Ticketmaster or something, but it's not as common that you'll see them. I mean, that's not true for, people who support local music, of course, but it's harder to get people who aren't normally out going to see local
Mhm.
events to go out specifically for local events. Especially when they're
Oh
not
yeah, yeah,
sure or
true.
familiar what the type of music is. It's hit or miss. They never know. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that that drive of artistic creativity and whatnot, just that kind of pent up need to get out and play will also translate into just a really busy summer for, well, hopefully safe, busy. Um,
Hopefully.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see how things go. Obviously, I mean
That will
that.
be, yeah, it'll be the beginning of things beginning to normalize, I think.
What do you,
Summertime.
what do you think about the vaccine? How eager are you to get the vaccine?
Oh, I'm very eager. I have asthma and I'm very eager. At this point, I'm cautiously optimistic that I will be able to get access to the vaccine sometime between hopefully someday and who the fuck knows. And so I'm
Yeah,
excited about that. But we'll see. I mean, the goalposts for that keep getting moved, and
yeah, and I think that you know it's tough because there was a lot of expectation for things to be ramped up, but I think a lot of that was just Trump
yeah.
talking out of his ass, and then that translated to people
Oh
not
yeah.
like panicking. So they're like, it's going back a little bit further. And that goalpost just gets a little bit more and more. Cause if they said right away, it'd be mass panic, you know. I hate how that is though
Yeah.
with politics. They can't ever give it to anybody straight. Like what happens when, there's aliens? You know, what are we going to do? They're not going to tell us.
Right. Right.
So,
Somebody, I wish I could remember who said it. It might have been Bill Maher. Somebody had said before the election that if Trump had just if he had promised that if he were reelected that he would tell us everything he knows about aliens, that he would have easily won reelection.
yes, I definitely agree with that statement, and I think he might be right. It might have been Bill Maher because I saw somebody that I watched say something like that. I wanted
Yeah.
to say it was Sagar and Jetty from The Hill.
Yes. Oh,
Actually,
my favorite conservative.
me too. He's
Yeah.
really. I think the way where the Republican Party needs to go, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's not your grandfather's Republican Party, obviously. Fuck your feelings. 2020 was an entire thing. So,
Hmm.
this whole conservative, I'm sorry, bullshit it's bullshit. Fiscally conservative, they want to go down that route. They want to, go, argue that, keep the government out of your money kind of thing. Yeah, I can see that. Libertarians, I'm kind of a libertarian.
Hmm.
I mean, I identify as a libertarian. So, um, but I do think that, um, guys like him have a better take on
Hmm.
things a little bit, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like him because I think he's intellectually honest. He's not afraid to, I wouldn't describe him as a never Trumper because I've certainly heard him give Trump credit for things from a policy standpoint, but he's also not afraid to be very sharply critical of Trump.
Yeah,
When
I
he
would say
wants to.
more so than most Republicans, though.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah. Or
definitely.
even the ones that give, like Tucker Carlson, I'd say actually sometimes holds him accountable somewhat, um,
Yeah.
but not really. I mean, he
Yeah.
basically blows him on national
Oh,
television.
yeah.
Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there are some times I've seen them he push against the grain a little bit, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about with Sagar, like he goes pretty hard against the Trump administration when there's something out
Oh,
of
yeah.
line. So,
Well,
um,
do you watch that show Rising
I do. Yeah.
that he does
Yeah.
with
I
Crystal
do.
Ball? Yeah.
I do. I
And
appreciate their show.
yeah, I like how both of them they approach it the same way because she's not afraid to beat the shit out of her own party either.
Right.
Um and it's interesting because they're coming at, he's a conservative, although certainly I don't think of him as right wing. Kind of he seems like kind of a mainstream sort of center right kind of guy.
Yeah.
She,
Certainly
she's
libertarian heavy,
yeah, yeah. She's very I think
Bernie
kind of
progressive,
yeah,
you
kind of in
know,
the mold of AOC, but
Jill
so
Stein kind of
yeah,
Democrat. Yeah.
yeah, so she's very critical of the moderate center of the Democrats. So it's an interesting dynamic because they're both they actually find a surprising amount of common ground, not on policy, but in terms of calling
But
those
that's,
on their own sides out on their
yeah,
bullshit, which I love. It's a great show.
it is. Well, and I think that they can even find common ground because they're able
Mhm.
to come together on certain things. It paves way to come together
Right.
on other certain things. And I think that that's really the future of bipartisanship, right? If
Hmm.
we're going
Yeah.
to go in that direction, but also the splitting of the major party system is gonna happen. It's happening right now with the Republicans. This whole Patriot Party thing where they're splitting down the middle, like it's gonna be a mess for them big time. And it is what it is, right? They reap what they sow for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the Democrats are going to try to take full advantage of that, and it's going to be ramming home 12 plus years of Democrat policy, which I'm not against a lot of it. I'm for
Hmm.
some of it,
Yeah. Me
but there's a
too.
lot of it that I'm not for too.
Yeah.
I'm really like, because we're already bloated as hell, and now they're just going to rock that budget. They're just going to go.
Well,
Paper money already our dollar already doesn't exist really, and I don't think that we should look at currency in that format anymore because goods and services have evolved way past banknotes and
that's
promissory
yeah, that's true. That's true. I
currency.
agree. But I always say on my show, I say, as far as economics, we're all Keynesians now, in the sense that, even very conservative Republicans are like, well, with the situation we're currently in, yeah, we kind
Yeah,
of do need to
we
spend a
don't have a
fuckload of money.
choice.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be done, and even it was an interesting dynamic recently in West Virginia where, you know, you have Senator Joe Manchin, who I think is easily the most conservative Democrat in the Senate. And he, you know, was kind of hedging a little bit on supporting the 1.9 trillion. He was a little hesitant. And then you've got Republican Governor Jim Justice in Virginia saying, who actually positioned himself to the left of Joe Manchin and said,
Right.
no, go big. He said,
Yeah.
I'm a Republican, I'm a fiscal conservative, but right now, this is not the time for
Not at
austerity.
all.
We
And now
gotta,
with Texas and shit, dude, shit is getting
oh
bad
yeah.
fast. I
Hmm.
mean, this is the thing that I worry about so much is people are not looking at the obvious here, right? I don't I get that the Democrats did some things fucked up with the first, investigation through the FBI but let's face it, Trump is a criminal. He
Hmm.
definitely went above and beyond high crimes and misdemeanors in multiple facets between the Ukraine thing, and I'm done with the straw man argument. I don't give a shit about Joe Biden. I don't like Joe Biden. He needed to be president to get an asshole out of there. Yeah, I get it. That's an argument to be had, but
Yeah.
the fact that we're gonna straw man everything. Well, Joe Biden did this, the Hillary Clinton did that. It's like they're not the people we're talking about. We're talking about fucking Donald Trump completely destroying. Forget his promises. Like that shit went right out the window, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on top of all of that, everything he said that he was going to try to do, it really was just backwards to what he said was going to happen, obviously.
Hmm.
But also, when I forgot where we're kind of going, because I went on a tangent with the Clintons there, but the straw man argument of him being a criminal, that's it, him being impeached twice now in the most overwhelming votes ever in
Yes.
bipartisan history in the House for something that we were starkly divided on as a country. So how is it that all those Republicans who were against impeachment ended up voting for impeachment in the House? And he's still not a criminal? Like, no, that's bullshit. Like he
Right.
should have been convicted. He should have
Hmm.
been removed from ever serving office ever again. I really don't think that guy has any business in politics now, especially after what happened in the Capitol. That's so egregiously awful. If
Yeah.
something were to happen like that over $2,000 checks, I'd be a little bit more okay with it, to be completely honest with you. Over George Floyd and all these people are angry. They're angry at their government, so they're pissed and they're going in. Yeah, but not for some asshole, not for some self-involved douchebag. And I'm not saying I would run on the Capitol, right? I have a kid and I'm not an idiot. But what happened was so completely unacceptable, how they lightened security, everything.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's all so fucked up. I guess where I was going before I completely lose track of my rant was that the Russia thing is blatant. Russia and China have everything to gain from us collapsing as a country.
Hmm.
We are no longer the world superpower, you know what I mean? And they want us to fail. So I wouldn't be surprised if the entire grid thing in Texas is uh fucking not what they're saying it is, and everything to do with hackers. And they've already said that they have full access to our mainframes and could shut us down at any moment if they want to.
You know, I'm embarrassed to say I hadn't thought of that, but now that you mention it, that
I
sounds
mean,
very
think
credible.
think
That
about the
that's a
amount of chaos that they could sow
yeah, that's yeah,
between COVID and George Floyd and the rioting, and now
yeah,
Joe Biden's going back on his promises or whatever. They see a perfect opportunity
yeah,
to scramble things up. Dallas being one of them. If they start
yeah,
shutting major power grids down in cities across the United States, what the fuck's gonna happen? Shit's gonna get messy quick.
yeah. But do you
In
think?
the
I,
middle
I
of the
mean,
winter, oh my god.
but in that scenario, so you think though they would have waited for? I mean,
I think that they're so inept and incapable of handling anything. They would do what George Bush did when he found out about the Twin Towers. They would just freeze, not really know how to act. Katrina the shit out of it, probably.
hmm.
Maybe not now, but with Biden running things differently. But he's already got so much. I would. I just that guy could like have a heart attack, you know? Like shit's it's bananas. And if they China has always said their entire intention was the long game.
Oh yeah. What is it? The 50-year plan or
Mhm.
something? Yeah.
They're coming right up on that. And they also recently wrote a law. I saw this on, who is it there? Aegon Hare there on Project Nightfall. This guy, foreign guy. He works for the Nas Daily 1 minute video guy there. If you ever get a chance to check him out, I think they've
Mm,
got pretty interesting material and content. Nas Daily specifically, but also Project Nightfall. The thing I found interesting he was talking about is China. Project China, their entire goal to take over so many different areas. They just recently wrote into law a extradition law saying that they could extradite whoever they want from wherever they want
hmm.
now, and that the Chinese government seizes full authority to extradite people out of their own countries, because this is mainly for Hong Kong, right? But depending on how it goes in Hong Kong and Taiwan, that expands them to do so outside of other countries and whatnot. um,
Okay.
and if
Yeah.
they decide that they want to make a one world government, I mean, who's going to stop their army? They've got like 10 soldiers every man, woman, and child that we have in the country, period. And
Hmm.
that's like army. We they just threw
Yeah.
people at us, chump block us like in a game of Magic. Like they have no care about human rights. Violations are
Right.
not a concern for them. They'll
Right.
send people at it until they die, until waves of human death,
Hmm.
until they get what they want. Like they are unrelenting and they are not going to stop. And the fact that that's the only thing I think China was pretty spot on about. China is a very big ominous threat, in my opinion. Chinese Communist Party specifically, not China, um, but the CCP.
Yeah. That's something where I think I'm an independent. I certainly lean more left than right, especially with the Republican Party the way it is now. But one thing that I think Republicans have always been right about, and Trump was right about somewhat. It pains me to give him credit for anything, um, but I think when they talk about Democrats being too soft on China, maybe too naive, et cetera, I
Yeah.
think there's truth to that. I mean, I don't go for all that, China Joe stuff and all that. I think that's nonsense. But
No, but I do think that they see a softer person dealing with them now, and that gives them leverage once again. So I mean,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
Joe has his best intentions in
right.
mind, but the old adage about good intentions.
Hmm.
I think that I didn't mean to interrupt you, by the way. I'm trying to monitor that. Um,
Oh no, you interjected.
uh,
There's
well,
a distinction between interrupting and interjecting.
Well, thanks. I try
Yeah,
really hard to avoid over
yeah,
talking people when I can. I just get
yeah,
excited about stuff. So
yeah. No, no
the
worries.
China thing is so much a concern though when it comes to, I think, like Joe Biden, not so much going soft, but I think this is exactly how they thought it was going to play out. I think that Russia genuinely had Trump convinced that he had the election, that they were going to help him swing the election. And when it didn't happen, he fucking went ham. He's like, fuck, they didn't stick to their end of the deal. I'm completely fucked. They left him out to dry, just like he left every single person on hit that ever stuck up for him. Michael Flynn, anybody that ever.
Yeah,
Karma's a bitch. And I
yeah.
think that I hope it eats him alive.
Me
I
too.
hope it all comes crashing down on his head and he has a major narcissistic break with reality. And he just cognitive dissonance gets flushed away by reality. I hope that happens. But
How would you like to see that happen? Do you imagine him in an orange jumpsuit, for example? Because I
no,
do.
I don't think that
No.
him going to jail is necessarily a good thing. I think it could be a dangerous precedent set that they could try to use futuristic against Democrats and even third party candidates.
Well, but the thing is, though, I mean, I don't even mean, you know, I mean, the state of New York. I've been saying I used to say almost half joking, sort of hyperbolically, that I believed that as soon as he was no longer president, that as soon as Joe Biden was sworn in, that somebody was going to come along and put the handcuffs on Trump because the
Yeah.
state of New York Attorney General's office
Oh, that's happening for sure.
was going to indict him. Now, obviously, it didn't happen yet, but I do think it's going to happen. And between that and Georgia, plus if
California is foaming at the mouth for him, as
oh
always.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's gonna be a cascade of bullshit coming down on that guy's head, and I think you're right. And
yeah,
there's part of me that does actually really want to see him in a jumpsuit and to pay full-fledged for what he's
hmm
done to this country, because I really do think that he screwed his own party. He fucked so many people he made promises to, and then all
hmm
of those people switch over after they got burned, and everybody's like, "Yeah, fucking libtards." Like, no, dude, those guys were voting with you in 2016, and then they got burned
yep,
and now they're against it, and you're just unrelenting on unreality. Like,
yeah,
it just it's mind-blowing how much people hunker down with fiction,
uh-huh.
you know. Absolutely jarring, to say the
Yeah,
least, because yeah, I don't know, I'm speechless, really. I don't even know, especially with the China. What happens? Well, we get attacked. What are we gonna do right now? We're more obese than ever. We are more just completely sick than ever. We're, a ton of people in Texas are cold. Like, there's so many scenarios that are just bad about us going to war right now.
yeah,
We're
we're
so just
vulnerable.
broken as fuck,
Hmm
and they know it. And if I mean, it's, you could just see what's coming, and it's terrifying. And I really hope that it is not. But it's like, if you're standing on a train track and you see a giant light coming at you, sure,
hmm
it could be a guy with a flashlight, but I'm not going to take that gamble. I don't know.
But when you say that, are you thinking about China specifically?
I think China's coming full force at us at a steady, slow rate. And Russia also has their hand in the bag, but they have two different dia what's the word? Opposing dipolar uh
Diametric.
diametric, maybe. Yeah, I think that's the word. They're on two ends of the spectrum. They Neither one of them have any intention on letting, like, they're both on the authoritarian end of the spectrum, right? But
Hmm
neither one of them have any give to the other one either. Like, they both want
Yeah.
the United States. They want us kind of crumble, but
hmm
both of them want to be first too, right? So
Yeah.
I do think that we're in a dangerous time, and if we would have stayed with Trump, it could have gotten a hell of a lot worse. And I do think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes that nobody really knows about. That is got the administration quaking in their boots.
hmm
I think Joe Biden's scared as shit because he found. I think that as soon as he got in there, he saw all the shit that he actually inherited, and
hmm
it's like, oh boy, they were like on a teetering
Yeah.
point. So we'll see if they can dial it back and they can bring it back. But I mean, I hate to be a pessimist. I have a child and I'm scared
Yeah.
if that could ever be. Um, I'm glad that actually Biden is president.
hmm
I'm glad that, Trump's not, but China definitely, the Chinese Communist Party rather, worries the shit out of me. Um,
Ultimately, though, I mean, um, isn't there a thought that, similar to, during the Cold War, it was always said that as far as Russia, we didn't have to worry. I mean, obviously, global thermonuclear Armageddon could happen at any moment, but because of the concept of mutually assured destruction, it wasn't actually going to happen. Are we not operating in a similar dynamic with China, not because of nuclear weapons, although they do have them, but just economically? Isn't
yeah,
there is because we're so intertwined economically, much more so than we've ever been with Russia.
we
Um,
definitely are. So it is a dangerous game for them, but they have every intention on slowly acquiring U.S. properties, slowly
yeah.
acquiring U.S. land, slowly acquiring U.S. everything, and turning it into China. And
Mhm.
that's a goal with Taiwan with Hong Kong, with everything they can do. In my opinion, I think that their goal is going to do exactly what they've been doing and just continue to slowly engulf things economically. But I think that, you know, the dangerous thing there is that, yeah, they need us, right?
Hmm.
It's a symbiotic relationship until it isn't, you know,
Right.
until
And we
they
need we need them more than they need us in theory, right? Because they own so
we
much of
really
our
do.
debt. I mean, they own
We are
most of
so
it, I
indebted.
think, right?
Yeah, they definitely own
Yeah.
at least half of it.
Yeah.
And I would say, and I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure, well, it was half of it before the pandemic, probably.
Yeah.
I think that's changed probably now. But um, yeah, we're in debt to them quite a bit, and they know it. And they're gonna, I think all of that stuff's gonna happen all at once. They're gonna come calling for that bill
Mm,
all at once. I mean, no payment plan. We want that money or we go to war.
right.
And what are we going to do? Would we be economically kind of screwed if they were to cut us off entirely? Would we not? I think that they could probably hoard and survive like they've always done. And again, they're not really worried about human rights violations. They'll let a ton of
Correct.
people die. They don't give a
Right.
shit. If it
Right.
means that they can maintain superiority and the CCP maintains, they will absolutely do so without the appearance of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, but everybody that lives in China knows. Like they all know. How, unless you are part of it, and then you just also know, but you don't say anything about it.
Do you know what the population is of China offhand?
I don't. I know it's massive in
Yeah.
just dwarfs ours.
Yeah.
And a huge number. I should find out though. Hey Siri, what's the population of China?
As of 2019, the population of People's Republic of China was 1,400,050,000.
One
Wow.
billion 400,000,000 and 50,000. Yeah. Holy fuck.
Wow.
And a third of that is their army.
Yeah. It's all dudes because of the
Again,
one child policy and all
long
that. Yeah.
plan. Like they are,
Yeah.
if you want to go conservative, fuck you, conservatives. That's conservative. The Chinese Communist Party, now that's conservative. We are
Right.
wasteful as shit as a country. There's no such
Hmm.
thing as conservatism here in the land of milk and honey. We're just blasphemous, indulgent pieces of garbage, and they hate us for it. Like, I love America, I love freedom. I'm an apple
Yeah.
pie guy too, right? But I also
Yeah.
have an anarchy sign tattooed on my arm from when I was a kid. I really hated government from an early age.
Yeah.
I also see the benefits and the need for it, but I always think to myself, just because it needs to be done doesn't mean I think government should do it.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I've
Sure.
heard somebody else say that. I'm paraphrasing. A libertarian, most likely. But I
Yeah.
think that that's, yeah, I don't think that they always need, but in the scenario of defense, I mean, we need an army. We need to be able to take up arms against China if they were to come at us. I don't think that, yeah, I kind of went on a tangent again there, but whew, I don't think we're at all ready. And I think that China has been waiting for a long fucking time for
Hmm.
this to culminate. And then what do you know? It came out of China and very well now likely that it came out of a facility. Now they're saying it's not even
Hmm.
likely that it came naturally, that it came from a facility at some point and maybe got transferred, but then, you know, like was
Sure.
let into the bat population or in the wet market population and let it spread that way.
Yeah.
But if they purposely infected the entire world to just take us down because of our health issues and because of how we take care of our citizens and so on and so forth, I think that this was all very well thought out. And I
Hmm.
think that we are on a roller coaster shit, and 2020 was just the beginning of it.
Mm.
um I really hope that the aliens thing is true, actually, at this point. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that, because we're almost better off with them than we are with the Chinese Communist Party as a country.
Well, yeah. Well, we don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's an open question. I don't know what
I, I, they've got, well, look what they've done to the Uyghurs there. It's
Yeah.
horrific. They do not give a flying fuck, and they'll go, well, look what you did to Japan. We don't want that for us. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you, pay me. That's exactly, they're gonna be fuck you, pay me pretty soon, and we are gonna be like, oh, we can't even pay ourselves. Womp womp.
Yeah, but the aliens, we don't know. We don't know anything. I mean,
That's
we
true.
I
That's
don't even
true.
know their position on farm subsidies. I mean, I'd need more
Or
information.
dairy subsidies for that matter.
Yeah, well, that's the
That
thing,
shit's racist.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I remember the time I got eaten alive on the internet for saying that dairy was racist. It was great. It's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, part of it was trolling, but part of it is me thinking that dairy subsidies are actually kind of racist. That whole milk does your body good thing is complete garbage, and it was used to gain more and more propaganda and continue to push propaganda to get you drink more milk. And in reality, it wasn't good for Black people. Actually, it causes more issues with osteoporosis than it actually leaches calcium for the bones and causes problems with it for anyone who's Black and has that gene. Like that's shitty. I read, and again, I could be wrong about some of the science in that. I don't know a ton of it, but I did actually read a couple of the actual studies.
Yeah.
The jargon, which is confusing as shit to most people. I am also confused. I just try my best to get through it so I can really kind of gain as much as I can from it.
Yeah.
That shit it's fucked up. Like
Yeah.
they paid dairy companies, like paid them
Mm-hmm.
to make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100% dairy subsidies. Bananas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who knows what the aliens are going to think of that.
Right. Right.
I mean,
we don't even know if we don't know if the aliens, I mean, are they pro-union? I mean, what, I don't know.
they have a federation, according to I Am a Shed. I Am a Shed is name, but I keep on calling him I Am a Shed because because I'm really bad at pronouncing his name.
Yeah.
I feel really bad because it makes me sound like a really uncultured piece of shit. But I Am a Shed, a sheed.
You're more cultured than me. I don't even know who this guy is.
He was a former Israeli space defense guy. And you didn't see the NBC News thing? Oh my God! If you're can you pull up a window?
I must not have. I don't dare because I don't want to use any more CPU than I'm using.
I got you. I totally understand. Actually,
because we froze up earlier.
Fun coming back to this, and I can only imagine listeners are just like, "Oh my God, again with the aliens." But this I Am a Shed guy. He claims that he was the Israeli space defense, guy for years and years. And he's like 85, well-rounded, very respected.
Maybe I did see this.
The aliens exist. Trump knows about it, and that there's a galactic federation.
Yes, I do remember this now. I did see this.
What is fucking going on, man? That is nuts. That is a huge truth bomb if it's true. And if it's true. If it's not, like, it's a hell of a time to be pulling all that because of all the stuff that's happening lately with UFO sightings and like the Pentagon pretty much saying, yeah, UAPs exist. They just put it in the new COVID bill. Did you know that? They snuck defense spending in the most recent COVID bill. Oh yeah. There was a bit. It was Republicans mainly that Marco Rubio was one of the biggest proponents of this. They want to know why they're hanging out and why they're hanging out above nuclear sites. And the answer, if you start digging in, like it's weird. That Stephen Greer guy, he was on Rogan forever ago, like way back. And he also made this documentary called Unknown on Netflix about aliens and how the entire thing isn't the fact that aliens exist or not. They exist, and it's not that they're even trying to hide them from us because they're afraid of us getting scared and panicking. It's that they don't want people to know about the technology that they have. It's literally going to change and kill oil companies and all this. 0 point energy is something, I guess, that is, and this again allegedly, but all of the shit that the guy said 4 years ago is now matching up exactly in the time frames that the dude was saying,
Interesting.
exactly as time it goes. And then he just made this other one, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And again, all the shit starts to check out. And
Huh.
that was fucking weird because I'm very skeptical always. That's always, and it's been hard for me to be
Yeah.
skeptical about aliens, right? Still don't know that they're aliens in there, but there's
Yeah.
definitely unidentified aerial phenomena that we don't know what the hell it is, and it defies physics as we know it. Well, according to this guy, they're using 0 point energy, and that is literally they're using like fourth dimensional thought. The fourth dimension is essentially thought, and that they're controlling it that way. So anyway, it goes in depth, and they're saying that we're not ready to understand that we're going through a major
Yeah.
transformational shift that we may not survive as a species right now. And
Wow.
that coincides with the whole, dawning of the age of Aquarius thing that the hippies were saying back in the day, that all of the,
You froze up on me.
oh, can you see me now? Can you hear me? I'm
Yep,
recording.
gotcha.
So,
I think yeah.
it was good on
I
my
think
end. For,
I think the deep state might have been interfering.
oh yeah, they're listening about crystals. I was just talking about salt lamps and crystals. Hope they got a fucking earful. Thanks to you, the NSA, we can never really know whether cats eat pancakes. I genuinely think that that if this is happening and that whole spiritual formation thing that is changing, ask anybody who's into astrology and stuff, they're telling you there's this major transformational shift that's happening with the human psyche, so on and so forth, the consciousness. And again, I don't know all of it, but again, I interview a bunch of people from all walks of life, and these conversations come up, and I just find it fascinating that it's also coinciding with this, with Mayan calendar too. They were measuring 2012. 2012 was a rough estimate. They were measuring stars. We're measuring a Gregorian bullshit calendar that we made up to fit our lives.
Right.
They had it better off. And what if their 2012 is right around 2020? That coincides right around with this whole shift in paradigm of thought. Things are almost coming to the end of what we think is the end of the world. I mean, I think it's just an end of life as we understand it, maybe. And that we're going to change beyond this. I mean, if you look at technology also, it's also crescendoing in a way that resembles this, right? Technology in 2008, I could buy a 16 gigabyte micro SD card for $162 when I worked at Radio Shack. That's how much they sold for. Now you can get a 32 gigabyte for almost nothing.
Right.
And that didn't necessarily happen as slowly as the last jump in memory space, so on and so forth. Because if you look back in 1997, we're looking at 16 megabyte cards for your PlayStation that were they were big. They're big old things,
Yeah.
So we really have sped up recently, and it's like over a period of human existence. If you watch the movie Waking Life, this guy kind of goes into that, where if you look at the hominid in early life, telescoping as being farther apart, and then human walking upright, social environments, technical revolutions getting closer and closer and happening almost to the point where it's happening in front of us right now. And to the point where it's going to happen instantaneous evolution. We're making the whole Neuralink thing. I think all of this is culminating to a major point where we are going to transform as a species into something that is more than what we are now, or destroy ourselves in the process. One of the two.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe aliens, maybe it's all going to happen right at the same time, like some crazy episode of fucking Gravity Falls. I don't know. I'm just along for the ride. Apparently so is my kid, which is also terrifying, because it's like some War of the World shit happens, dude. That's fucking horrific and terrifying. And fuck Tom Cruise, but if he isn't believable in those movies that are the most unbelievable, that guy, I don't really like him as an actor, but I'll tell you, when he's playing science fiction, it's so believable because he's so batshit crazy. He believes that he's the character when he's playing it. You're like, dude, that dude, he's telling the truth right now.
Well, you got to figure. I mean, a guy who believes in Scientology and
that's what I'm saying.
Xenu and all that. Yeah. He's he can
probably pretty easy to shift gears there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh man, I always kind of wonder about that, like with like celebrities. Celebrity status is changing too, right? It's not like it used to be. You've got fucking children just randomly becoming YouTube stars, like making crazy, insane amounts of money that actors are never going to come close to making. That have done nothing to really get there, you know? So it's nuts. It's so bananas how everything is changing. Or see how many times I say the word bananas in an episode of Abstract Transmissions. I'll have a counter.
Do you have a potassium deficiency? Maybe
I do actually, surprisingly,
trying
from time to time, I actually do. And I eat a lot of bananas for that reason.
It's your subconscious mind reminding you that you need to eat bananas.
That's it. I actually don't eat enough bananas, but I should, because I get those leg cramps. And you know what they say? You know what moms always used to say? You got to eat more potassium.
Yeah, my mom
turns
never
out,
told me.
Oh, really? If you got leg cramps, she never said, "Hey, it's potassium. You got to eat a banana." Enough bananas? No. Holy shit!
Yeah.
I thought that was just something a mom said. People on the internet are like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" That's fucking. This guy's bananas.
Maybe my mother might not have been doing her job. Maybe she was supposed to tell me that and forgot. Ugh. I never said she was a good mom. I mean, you know, she might have really fucked up there.
She might have dropped you too. You know, they never tell us.
Right.
I think my mom probably dropped me a few times, just didn't say anything. Oh fuck, dust them off. Put them back in the bassinet. Call it a day.
That caused your leg cramps, and then
that's it.
She felt bad, and
little ADHD attributes there. You know.
There you go.
Smooth some of it out. The brain. I mean.
Yeah.
Ouch. You know, speaking of smooth brain people, no, I again, QAnon, unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, unbelievable. That's it's how do they? How is it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm speechless too. I have nothing to say about it.
Yeah, you know, I and by the way, I just saw a poll.
Some real Jim Jones shit
a few days ago. Well, yeah, and apparently, according to a poll that I saw the other day, more than half, I think about 54% of Republicans polled are, if not necessarily full-on believers, are sympathetic to the cause of QAnon. But
fuck.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of goddamn people. Half the people that voted in the election. You're saying a quarter of the people that voted in the election, basically.
Yeah.
Are on board with that shit.
Oh yeah. But I've been saying on my show, I say this a lot, that
it's like 40 million Americans.
Oh yeah. But it's not, but to me though, it's just a natural progression of what we've been seeing on the right. And I say it on the show all the time. And this, you know, this predates Trump. I mean, Trump is a symptom.
Yeah, you're right.
And maybe an accelerant at the same time. But
Rush Limbaugh.
We've been seeing this gradual melding of conservatism and conspiracy theorism. I mean, I first became really cognizant of it when Obama was running in 2008. And all of a sudden, all these seemingly whom I perceive to be just, you know, run-of-the-mill mainstream Republicans are coming up with all these conspiracy theories about how he was born in Kenya, or he's actually a CIA operative, or
it was Michelle Obama's. Racist. It was so fucking racist.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah, totally. But all these conspiracy theories, and then Trump came along and capitalized on all of it by, you know, birtherism had kind of died down, and then Trump reignited it and made himself king of the birthers. And, you know, now and Trump was our first conspiracy theorist president. You know, he believes Ted Cruz's dad helped kill JFK because he saw it in the National Enquirer. I mean, Trump is all in.
What?
With this stuff.
Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I mean, there's a lot of things to keep track of with that crazy asshole, but
yeah. Oh yeah. He thinks, he that was back in the 2016 campaign. He said that there was a picture in the National Enquirer, somebody with Lee Harvey Oswald who looked a lot like Rafael Cruz, and Trump concluded that obviously, any rational person
he retweeted
would.
The Onion like a fucking tool bag. I'm like, you dipshit, you absolute dipshit. Like,
he'll retweet anything. He'll retweet anything.
I mean, and then every single time he does something unfucking fathomably more ridiculous than the last. They jump through mental gymnastic hoops to justify it.
It's a
And they're
cult.
like, no, we didn't. Like, I just watched you do hula hoop dances through burning flames of dumbass to make that guy's reality be fucking reality. Like, no, it's not. It's not doublethink, and certainly not 1984. Sure, we don't want Victory Brand cigarettes, but we also don't want doublespeak bullshit.
Yeah,
I'm all set with that. George Orwell would want to vomit.
It's a cult, man. It is a cult.
It is a Kool-Aid drinking insanity.
They worship him. They worship him. I mean, it's like Ben Sass, one of the few senators, Republican senators with any spine. I don't know if you saw his statement that he put out, the video that he put out when the Nebraska Republican Party decided to censure him for daring to go against President Trump.
Fucking ridiculous. A bunch of states did that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And he put out a video saying, the Republican Party should be about, how did he, a bunch of flowery language about how it should be about, ideology and ideas or whatever. But the key line, he said, it should not be about the weird worship of one dude. His exact words. And I love that. And it's like, yeah, that's it. They worship him. They worship him like he's a messiah. And never seen anything like it.
Dude, even in the fucking weird political cartoons that they have, like, of him, or not even political cartoons, these weird, like, comics and stuff, they've got him, like, ripped. And it's like, no, dude, he's an obese old man. He is not some superhero.
Yeah.
He's just an asshole. He's just a New York asshole who got way too far on being an asshole, which just says more about the United States than does anything else.
Yeah.
Half of us are assholes. Cool.
About 75 million of us, apparently. Yeah.
And then there's all of us that didn't vote either. No, I'm just kidding. Like, I normally would try to avoid voting. I've always been political, but like I've never voted main candidate for a lot of reasons. And this is usually the reason why, but Jesus, when you're facing an apocalypse.
Yeah. Same.
But hey, who knows? Now it doesn't even matter. It might be going that way anyway.
Well,
where the fuck are the aliens? Let's bring on the aliens, please.
Right.
Bring on I've never been so excited to have our planet taken over by creatures that might want to wipe us out. I feel like it's a gamble we should take. I don't know. I mean, I do want to side with what Stephen Hawking said. I mean, he was, in fact, one of the smartest people that have ever graced this planet. And he said, if there is interstellar life, we certainly shouldn't be trying to get their attention. Like, think of how well that worked out for the indigenous tribes of the world.
Yeah.
It's never, ever worked out. I mean, and so to think that there's automatically this lead towards predation or whatever, we don't know, right? Getting back to the aliens thing. But yeah, we don't know anything about anything, really, when it comes to cosmic anything. We are fucking dumb as shit when it comes to knowing about our planet, about the universe, spirituality, religion. We really just don't know. Our head is underwater when it comes to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And because we've got wrapped up in the here and now, or, what we're going to, just the next moment, to get through.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the alien thing is kind of it's weird because you got to watch these documentaries talking about Stephen Greer. He's talking about how there's been a 70-year-long media campaign, propaganda campaign, to get the United States to be, or people abroad to be afraid of aliens and that they might take over the planet. In efforts to turn them into the next terrorist, because we don't need oil anymore, but we do need their stuff. We want their stuff. So it's just like, I mean, it's crazy that we're thinking that we could go up against these people and take their shit. I mean, these aliens, these creatures, or if they exist, like, this is purely hypothetical. I mean, this is getting nuts, right? But to think that this could actually be a reality, and that we think that we could just go, yeah, we're just like, yeah, we want your things now.
Right.
This is
right.
ours now. We're bringing freedom to you in the name of Jesus Christ,
Yes.
your Lord and Savior. Bow. They're like, no, no, and you're vapor now. So bye-bye. Like,
Yeah.
we really got to tread carefully on that if this is even a thing. And we want their stuff. Like, that was the rumor within this whole documentary, is that like we're gonna go to war with them, basically, just like we did over oil.
Right.
But now it's a new landscape, it's a new world, and why we had to create a space force. And that simultaneously matched up with that guy's timeline, the I Am a Shed guy.
No kidding. Really.
Oddly enough, yeah.
See, my theory about the Space Force, I think the only, and I say this half kidding, but I say it half serious. I think the reason that we have the Space Force now is because Trump was just dying to get in front of a microphone and announce to the
Aliens.
world, no, not aliens, Space Force. I think
Yeah.
he wanted to say the words. Did you ever see him look so excited? I mean, think about it.
I
You could
agree.
see it in his face, how he was so happy to be able to say,
I actually said that
Space
same
Force.
thing. I said
Yeah,
the same thing,
yeah.
but a little bit of a different twist.
yeah,
That he wanted to, he found it, got in there, found out about aliens right away,
yeah.
was like, I want to tell everybody. They're like, no, you can't do that. They're like, well, I'm gonna do it. I'm the president. I can do whatever I want. They're like, no, you really can't. You can have this though. Here's a breadcrumb. You can Space Force.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't know. I don't know. It could be, but very well, he was excited about it, and it was totally all about him. What better
definitely.
way to appease this narcissist than to make something entirely about him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just like, yeah. Look over here, you dumb monkey. He's like, ha, ha! He like runs off. Shiny thing. Like,
Yep.
that was a close one.
Yep.
Next time we gotta have the tranquilizer ready. Good God,
Yeah.
man, what were you thinking? Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a special Trump tranquilizer. Part of that cocktail is Ben and Jerry's and sadness.
Yeah.
The golden spoon. That poor fucker. I actually I can't ever imagine wanting to be him, one, or actually having to be him, two. I would never want to do any of the things that he's ever done. I would not want any of that to end up being where he is, ever in a million years. None of it's a trade-off for me.
Yeah.
At least I'm somewhat in touch with who I am as a person, especially now. Even shit that I went through in my life, I made a lot of dumb decisions, lied to myself, other people's, even, just awful things that people need to recognize, accept who you are as a person, mistakes you've made, own it, and move on.
Right.
Like, have you ever seen those like dose Trump like memes? Like, there's this thing going on, like dose Trump, like the acid, like he needs to try acid to become self-aware and really get his shit together. Like, if he took acid, that straightened him the fuck out for sure. It's just like pictures of him with like shaved head and like a goatee after acid, you know what I mean? Like, he just comes to his senses. Man,
I've always assumed, and I haven't read, I think Mary Trump has said this in some interviews. I haven't read her book. But I've always just kind of assumed that he has narcissistic personality disorder, and he's probably clinically a sociopath.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's been multiple. Yeah, of course, these psychiatrists and psychologists are kind of automatically disregarded because they should never publicly, diagnose somebody, right? But they felt like it's necessary to be like, no, this is dangerous. This guy is dangerous. The whole world is at stake. All of human civilization and the continuity of thereof, whatever, all of it is hinged on that guy. we're fucking, like Joe Rogan says, hurdling. I just heard this the other day. Actually, somebody showed me this because they thought I'd get a kick out of it. I actually am not as familiar with Joe Rogan um, as some people may think because of the format of the podcast. I actually am pretty new to him. Right around the time I started the podcast, and people suggested I start really listening, and so. But recently, I was just shown this thing where oh man, what were we talking about? I just went on a tangent again. This happens all the time. We're talking about dose Trump, right? Hallucinogens. No, you were talking. Where do we go from dose Trump? I'll have to rewind.
Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, I was talking about oh man, yeah, I don't think it's gonna come back, unfortunately. It happens,
Yeah.
It really, and it's not, unfortunately, I'd like to blame cannabis, but it's definitely ADHD. And it'll come back later, like shortly after. I'll be like, God damn it. My brain just shifts gears sometimes. I mean, you know, familiar. ADHD is it's a motherfucker.
Do you find, by the way, are there benefits to it? Do you find? And the reason I ask is, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Kevin,
I'm not.
or Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, but he really just goes by Dr. Kevin. But he's written a few books on ADD and ADHD. One of them is called Managing the Gift, and I appear on his show once a month and we discuss politics, but I've also interviewed him about his books. And he talks a lot about some of the good things about ADD and ADHD and how and some of the ways that it can actually help you to be successful and be more productive. And so I'm just curious if you find
I definitely superpowers. Yeah, I've heard the ADHD superpower thing.
And you just froze up on
me.
Oh, there we go.
You
unfroze.
Yeah,
yeah.
You were a little bit frozen there too. So, ADHD superpowers being like my ability to create. I can never be in a position where I can't think of something creative. It's never been a challenge for me. I can always create. Like when I figured out how to make music, I could always just come up with something on the spot of wherever, like writing down ideas, art. It's never really been a challenge for me to just come up with things abstractly. But getting them done and following through is always the challenge to that. A lot of great ideas, but following through those ideas.
Do you hyper focus at times though? Like instead of getting distracted, you go completely the other way sometimes?
Absolutely. When I start to work on like podcast episode or whatever, I have to, like, I almost procrastinate about it because I know that time is now going to be devoted until it's done. There's no stopping that process. I become obsessive and I have to finish it. And I have to, really force myself to break away and then it's hard to get right back to it. So I try to do things while they're fresh in my head. And I really, getting down to a schedule is so important. Lists are so important. I actually utilize Jessica McCabe's videos, How to ADHD, is her channel. Amazing channel. Same thing. So I'm very interested whenever somebody has a perspective on ADHD. But her channel is incredibly helpful when it comes to life hacks and ideas and things that you can do to help workarounds. I mean, it has been a lifesaver during the time that I was on medication. And, I still struggle with the being on medication for ADHD because I don't like the psychostimulant medications. I really am not too much a fan of any like feeling altered different than who I am now.
Yeah.
But I can't function as a parent with ADHD without having some sort of medication there where I can make lists, stay on task, get my son into a regular, consistent schedule, because he suffers from dysregulation that I'm not providing, and that's just not an option. So,
Yeah.
I won't, I'll let myself suffer through over the years from not being proactive about taking care of those things with ADHD. But now it's not about me. So
Yeah.
it's tough, but I do find that I have very many specific superpowers that stand out when it comes to a lot of different things. Like I had the ability to, as long as I use timers and all that stuff, I was good at cooking in like multi-station kitchen, or fry cook, or salad end of a 99. They called it cold end, and it was fried chicken and all this stuff, but it get crazy on Saturday night. You need two
Yeah.
people to run it. When I was in the zone, I was really good at that, doing using timers and all that stuff. But if I stopped using timers, if I lost track of pattern, if I fall off rhythm, everything goes real haywire real fast. So I I don't know. I thought even with like writing down things, I find that I'll try to find a workaround, a quicker way around, instead of just doing it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to force myself to go the opposite way from that, because it always turns out bad. I was thinking, oh, I could just do this, or write down the stupid things, like holding multiple things in your hand because you don't want to make an extra trip. Stuff like that, which never turn out well. So I have to be conscious a lot of what I'm doing for it to be effective. But I think that's it's definitely a reality for people with ADHD, and they really need to value what they have as a gift. As much as it can be a struggle, it is also an opportunity that other people do not have. I met a ton of really great musicians, good guitarists. I've played with an amazing guitarist, great guy, amazing guitarist. He's the best guitarist I've probably ever met. When it comes to some creativity, though, his stuff sounds a lot like most rock that exists.
Yeah.
As a because he learned from pre-existing lessons that everybody uses as the generic rule book for. I'm not a very good guitarist because I didn't take lessons, but I do have very creative ideas and riffs, and the ability to hold strings in kind of weird augmented ways. So there's an advantage to each learning style, and but I think there's really a lot to be said for people with ADHD, and I'm really trying to learn a better way to communicate it, because my son rolls his eyes at me anytime I get into an in-depth anything, but
Really?
I really want to be able to convey this to my kid, because he's already struggling a lot, and I see, and it hurts to watch him go through these things that I remembered, like, hating myself and thinking there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Everybody else could manage things, but I couldn't even force myself to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of something, because I felt like I had to finish it, and I'd hold it to the last point. Pissed myself in class one time when I was like 6. Awful experience, right?
Wow.
I was crushed by it socially at the time. You're 6. It went real quick the other way, and I started making fun of myself as an alternative, be the funny guy in classroom.
Oh, okay. That's a good coping mechanism to develop. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've always kind of had a little ways around stuff like that, but little things like that with ADHD that people don't realize kids struggle with, that are just, it's hell for them, because they don't know that they're doing it until they're doing it. They don't have those tools, and when they get frustrated or they have emotional dysregulation, it's not because they're being a bratty asshole. Sometimes they are, but I mean, that's normal for all kids. It's normal for all people. But a lot of it for kids is that they're struggling with something real, and we're trying to force thousands of years of human evolution into cubicles and factory jobs. And
Mhm.
who would have thought that doesn't exactly work the way we thought it would, um, people
You
like
you
him and, oh,
you
sorry.
you see some of those same things in him
Oh, absolutely.
with
He
the
has,
ADHD. Okay.
he's definitely got, I mean, he has a diagnosis for it recently as of new,
Okay.
but I
Is
struggle
that?
with putting him on medication. I struggle with it all the time. I don't want
Yeah.
to, because I feel like I hated it when I
Really?
was younger. I hated it. I was on it from like 6 to now, off and on, my whole entire life. And I've never liked it, really.
Yeah.
It makes you like turn in like this drone, like this zombie, and you're just kind of like zoned in, and you can't like, you gotta like, you could do things in a very particular list, and everything goes
Yeah.
very smoothly, and everything's like all the scatter just into
Yeah.
place, and you can see everything, and you're thinking normally. And but is that normally, or am I supposed to think differently? Is it evolutionary? Was I meant to be a hunter gatherer in an environment that,
Yeah.
that was supposed to go out and have this really perceptive sense of things? And the reason for our brains being so scattered, I think, has to do with evolution more than it does a new understanding of psychology or psychiatry. I think that we're trying to mold us into something that we're not as a species. Not yet, at least.
But if you're on the medication and it's turning you into like kind of a drone like person, as you said, is that a matter of does that become a matter of dosage? Like, do you just need
Definitely.
less?
I absolutely am more optimistic about putting him on medication now that I go to a psychiatrist for it
Yeah.
versus a primary care physician. And for any of those out there, there is a big difference in how they manage your medication. Primary care is
Oh
likely
yeah.
to just put you on psychostimulant and then like Ativan if you have anxiety from it.
Okay.
Not a good combo. I mean, that happened to me through two different doctors. One put me on
Really?
clonazepam, one put me on Ativan. Neither one of those were a good scenario. This doctor put me on a mood stabilizer instead. I was hesitant to go on these things, but I was also like, look, I'm going to put my brain in your hands. Try not to fuck it up when you give it back.
Yeah.
you know, just want it
Yeah.
to come back the way you gave it, hopefully fixed a little bit.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I'm very much all about learning to adapt, becoming better at what I'm, doing as a parent. But at the same time, navigating, you know, the responsibility of staying on task with lists,
Hmm.
making sure I take my medication at the right times, reminding myself every week to separate, organize medications, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's challenging trying to manage both my ADHD and his as well.
Yeah.
Especially without lists and order.
So does this tend to be hereditary, as far as
Uh,
you know?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. My biological father had it, and he struggled with, like, usually the big indicators that people have ADHD is heavy issues with um, addiction, substances, tend to
Oh,
scatter and be very kind of bipolar in nature. I think he cut out there a little bit. He's
froze on me.
you back?
There we go.
Hey. So yeah, I was just saying
We're back.
that. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Froze again.
Oh,
What the hell?
it's freezing. Hey, can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
I got you. Yeah, we.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Comcast. Yeah, I can hear you.
It might be because I'm really up on the gain on this too. I hope I'm not too far on the microphone gain. But yeah, no, I was just saying the what were we talking about? Totally forgot. Damn it. I do this all the time.
Hereditary.
Hereditary,
And,
yeah.
your dad.
Yeah. My biological father was very much, he struggled with some things here and there. I don't really know him that well. I stopped seeing him when I was like 11 years old. and no ill against him. I guess he's really turned his life around in a lot of ways, but he struggled a lot with like lying and all kinds of stuff there's a lot of, you know, things that were not discovered that probably developed into really unmanageable things as he got older. Luckily for me, like I was on medication at an earlier age. I was able to manage certain things a little bit better. I've never really had the drawn tendency to be addicted to anything specifically. I've, you know, any drugs I've ever done in the past, it's always been recreationally and for a short amount of time when I was really younger, you know, drinking, so on and so forth. I definitely, you know, had times where I drank in the past when I was, you know, younger and stuff, but I've always kind of loathed most drugs
Yeah.
because of the control factor, which is my own issue, right? I'm addicted to control. I need to have control of myself. I can't stand the idea of, you know, and like cannabis, I've never, even when like it used to actually get me high, now I just use it to maintain pain management. But it was always a control thing. Like I couldn't control myself on other medications or drugs or cocaine or anything like that. Like all of those things are never good at all.
Yeah.
Like recreational drugs, I think are a real big mistake a lot of times for people. And I think that the only thing that I welcome and I think is a good decision is LSD and psilocybin. I think, well, maybe DMT. I don't know enough about it. I think that those are tools to our understanding of something greater than than what we know. I don't think it's just like brain death. I think there's something else to it.
Yeah.
But you know, I've never really been you know, in that group where I was drawn to, like, I'm on, you know, pain medications. I've been on controlled substances most of my life and never had the tendency to want to like go out of my way to get fucked up on them. It's never been something that if anything, the hard thing for me is like and this is why I'm on tramadol versus like the oxycodone primarily, is the tramadol helps with the actual pain without getting like weird feelings. I don't like the feeling of like feeling I don't know. It's like that numb face feeling with the itchy.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I never liked it. But with the ankle issues, I've been on and off that medication for 16.
Oh, no kidding.
And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I've always, you know, opted to not be on it. So for like years, I was just ibuprofening it, but then it was real bad. I was taking like 2400 milligrams ibuprofen a day, you know. Doctor was not okay with it, so
Yeah, that'll
I
that can damage your liver, correct?
yeah, and your stomach, all kinds of
And your
things.
stomach.
So I stopped taking that, started taking tramadol, and that, you know, has been a really good alternative. That and cannabis,
Yeah.
cannabis for like the instant pain. Like I have these major pop events. Like there's been a couple of times on the episodes where it's happened. You could hear it come through the microphone. It sounds kind of
Really?
gross, yeah.
Wow.
And I'm just kind of doubled over in pain. It hurts a lot.
Oh.
It's like an 8 on the pain scale. Feels like somebody's, you know, and like in Misery when James Caan gets his ankles smashed and gets hobbled there.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing I could get it to. Like, yeah, it's real bad and it sucks. And it's short. It's gone after like a minute and a half. But for a minute and a half, it's excruciating. And there's nothing in the world that could get in my bloodstream even fast enough for that to work.
Right.
You know, other than dabs, concentrate's probably the only thing that I've found that has even come close to that. Like really strong marijuana concentrate, big old rip of that, and you know, I'll cough my brains out. But it takes the focus away and does take some of the pain away. The CBD properties too. If I can mix in isolate, the CBD isolate too, it's just hard to breathe that stuff in. CBD is pretty rough when you're breathing it in through vapor or whatever. Because I'm trying not to smoke either. My doctors don't want me to smoke. I don't want to smoke.
Here we go.
So cannabis it is primarily. And I mean, I have, you know, so many times where,
if I minimize?
oh, if you minimize the screen, that might help. I do find that like I'll try to take breaks from the tramadol and stuff, and that's not always comfortable. But for like a couple of days to try to recalibrate any type of tolerance or whatever, because I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
Doctor's not a fan of it either. But I'm like, look, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna slowly become more and more reliant on the medication. It's not an option.
Right.
But aside from that, I mean, I think that it'd be nice when therapeutic cannabis is covered by health insurance. That'd be great, right?
Yeah. It's
Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
You don't think so, really?
No, I don't know. I think it's a big step. Maybe. I shouldn't say never. I never thought. My dad always said, "You're never gonna see legal cannabis in your lifetime," and he was wrong. He also said that I'd never see small little pocket watches in my lifetime either, like a pocket like computers, like computers and all that stuff. That's future stuff. That's never gonna happen. I'm like, I should have bet him money.
I think we'll see full legalization of cannabis in the next 5 years, federally. I think that's my prediction. Yeah,
I think
it's inevitable.
It's got to happen, and I think that's a Democrat push too. That's an agenda of theirs, is to eliminate that, and hopefully private prisons and all that, or unless they're just talking out their ass. So
Biden, I think, but didn't Biden sign an executive order about private prisons not renewing contracts with private prisons? I think
that's amazingly awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that he. Oh, you know what? I think maybe I did know that, and I just glossed over it somehow. I think I heard something about him not. I didn't hear that he signed an executive order about it. That's amazing. That's really awesome. That's so huge. Prison industrial complex needs to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Cannabis. These people spending time for drugs. I don't think that. I mean, yeah, drugs and guns but look at all of that stuff that happens as a product of drugs being illegal. Just let all drugs be legal and go down to your local druggist and get your heroin or your cocaine for the ghosts in your blood. If you want to do it, that's your choice. It's your body.
Yep. Agreed.
Just like alcohol, just like anything else. And I think people need to take a little bit more self-responsibility, where it's the dawning of the age of Aquarius, just like that terrible 70s song. So get on board, folks.
That's from, is that from Jesus Christ Superstar?
Yeah, I think so.
This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
That sounds about right, actually. I don't know if it is or not, but it's a terrible song to me.
Yes.
I think it actually could be used very effectively in like a really like scary movie. Maybe like a space sci-fi thriller, maybe even.
Hair. That's what you're trying to tell me. I'm sorry, Jenny was correcting me. It's from the movie Hair. Which actually does make more sense now that I'm thinking about it, because Jesus Christ Superstar is about Jesus, and Christians think that anything related to astrology is demonic. So
yeah, that would make sense. I mean, but it was a musical, right?
Yeah. So there's that.
I mean, they could have taken their own spin on it,
Yeah, that's true.
He could have been wearing a Technicolor Dreamcoat or something.
Right.
No, I don't know. Like, I just think all of those songs from the hippie age are super common in like horror movies and stuff now. Like, people are using these like super like older but very calm sounding songs in like horror movies, and for the cinematography, and it's good. I'm not saying it's terrible. I just see that as like a trend that's happened in movies. Now I'm going on a rant about movies, apparently. But yeah, cannabis needs to happen. I mean, they really gotta just. I mean, New Hampshire, really, we're the island of prohibition, and slowly growing, lake of.
Yeah, I mean,
recreational use.
Everybody around us, we're surrounded by states and Canada who've all gone full legal, and we're still stuck at decrim. But I mean, but it is inevitable, and I don't know why Chris Sununu, the one Republican I voted for
Yeah,
in the last
right.
election, I don't know why he won't budge on it, but it is inevitable.
I actually I really I don't know if he's going to allow anything like that to happen. I think he's going to continue to drag on it as long as he's in there,
Yeah.
you know.
But there really is no political risk. If you look at polling data,
I
I
agree.
mean, Democrats, of course, support it, and libertarians have always supported legalization. But even most Republicans now support legalizing cannabis. So there's no political risk. Even a lot of conservatives have finally said, yeah, maybe putting people in prison for possession and use of a plant isn't such a great idea. Okay.
Well, I mean, some of them have all tried it now. Like generations
Yeah, of
before,
course.
that was exotic and taboo, and only for jazz musicians. Fucking racist assholes. The whole thing, we're just talking about this um how cannabis was, a big smear campaign,
Mm-hmm.
like hinged on racism.
Oh yeah, that's why they started using the term marijuana,
Yep, instead
because
of
yeah,
cannabis. Yeah.
yeah, make it sound exotic. Funny thing, apparently, xenophobia is a great marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
So
Here.
it's those Mexicans with their cannabis, or their marijuana, I should
Yep.
say.
And them and those expletive deleted jazz musicians chasing our white women. Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just it's fucking bullshit, and people gotta wake up eventually. I mean, we're really dragging our feet on the social equality thing, or like rights as a human being thing in general. Maybe not so much as China.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think we had a 4-year setback on a lot of that.
Holy crap, we did. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, look, there's some things that Obama did that were just kind of abhorrent, like the drinking the water thing in Flint, Michigan. Like, it's just some stuff that's just like, really, dude?
Yeah.
Really?
I was talking about that today on my
Stuxnet?
show.
Oh my God, Stuxnet. Don't get me started on that. Releasing that friggin' AI virus there. Did you hear about that?
That I don't know about.
Oh man, that's crazy. You got this AI virus that knew how to self-replicate, and once it was out of Pandora's box, there was no putting it back in. It infiltrated. It was designed to destroy uranium enrichment, centrifugal. I don't know what they're called. Centrifuges. That's what they are. Centrifuges. And they would cause them to speed up and catastrophically explode and damage them, to stop them from doing their hidden and supposedly not happening nuclear arms thing. So they did this to Iran, and the Israelis actually reinforced it with money. And they released this on them, but it got out worldwide and affected all kinds of different infrastructures that are old, especially in the United States. Fucking backfired. And
I do
lack of foresight,
sort of remember. Yeah.
Stuff like that,
Yeah. Well, I was no fan of the deportations. I mean, that's why it came up on my show today, actually, because Biden is going to try to, God bless him, he's going to take a swing at comprehensive immigration reform. And
good luck with that. Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Split everything, right? I mean, they can rail it through. They get one of those 3 of those concession budget reconciliation bills that they can run in a year. So they can ram home 3 big bills a year.
Yeah.
And force everybody to vote on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that. They're going to ram home a lot of stuff here on these next couple of bills. And I'm not against the idea of them rebalancing some things out, the pendulum,
Yep.
the bipartisan pendulum must swing. But I do worry about them taking too much power and it getting dangerous. You
Oh,
know?
sure. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Especially the guns thing. I think that
Mm-hmm.
I think a likely scenario to happen actually is going to be 2 years of Biden. Then he's going to step down, or something's going to happen with his mental cognizance or whatever. Kamala Harris is going to take over for 2 years, and then she's going to run again for 4 years and 4 more years after that.
I can see that.
12 years of Democrat policy and 2 years of us being able to test her out as a president, her being able to schmooze up to people and then win 2 more re-elections after that. That forces, let's see, Biden. Yeah, that's a steady, that's a steady, consistent amount of Democrat policies that are just going to get pushed through for a long period of time.
Well, maybe. I mean, obviously, it depends on what happens in Congress too.
Well, look what's going on with the Republican Party. I mean, they're just falling apart. I think that they, I don't know. You're right. Who knows? Bananas. Crazy time to be alive. Like, it's nuts.
It
like
is.
I really think that they are. I mean, I've been saying this all along, and watch if they don't do it, the Kamala Harris thing, and that's gonna be almost predictable in a way that, you know, he's old, so it makes sense if he stepped down and resigned, and she took over, and then, you know, then they've got a lot of time to do, because she can technically run twice again. And I think she would. I think she would take advantage of that. And it would be this upheaval, constitutional, is it allowed, is it not thing. But I think it's going to happen. And I think it's exactly it's going to happen just like that. And I'd be surprised if there are any primaried, you know, Democrats that go up against her or anything like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think it's likely. I think that if she becomes president within the next 4 years because of resigning Biden, I think that she's pretty golden for another 2 terms after that.
Yeah,
she would very easily win 2 terms past that, with the way things are going, with progressives and stuff. And who's to say that things couldn't get better? But I mean, she is a former cop, right? Not exactly, but she's a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Bust a lot of people for cannabis. Maybe she make that right. You know, hope so.
I mean, if you take her at her word, she seems to have evolved on those issues. So we'll see. But I mean, yeah, you know, in the scenario that you've presented, you know, she'd potentially have a lot of wind at her back, assuming that. And I've been a little bit surprised at how, I wouldn't even call it cautious optimism. Economists generally are pretty optimistic about, once we get past COVID, how quickly the economy is going to rebound and how robustly it's going to rebound. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest with you.
I think they're overly optimistic. I think that the AI apocalypse is here, and all that COVID did was speed that up. And then when we go back, those jobs aren't going to be there. A lot of McDonald's jobs they're going as fast as they can to rapidly replace that before the end of the pandemic, so they can still justify it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw that being, and then the robot. I mean, the trucks. That's just, once drivers go AI, that's gonna be a huge blow to the workforce.
Yeah,
but
it is.
That's out 2 years at least. Maybe not. I mean, there was, back when Andrew Yang was just starting to run for president, there was a robot butter truck that went from Pennsylvania to California without stopping.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. No kidding.
And he had this joke about how there was a giant stack of pancakes there. What could they be bringing all that butter for? You know?
Right.
Guy was funny. That guy should be president. That guy seriously should have been. He should have ran third party. I really think that him and that William McRaven guy or whatever running as a ticket could have just trounced both parties. This was people were so upset with who they had to vote for this election and last election. Like both parties really got to get it together. They push against these people that come into the party and that try to change things.
Oh yeah.
You know, whether it be Bernie or Yang, I don't really agree with a lot of things from Bernie, but then there's a lot of things I do like about him. I voted for him.
Did you in the primary? Yeah.
Not recent primary. I voted for Yang, but the
right.
primary before that.
Gotcha.
I was definitely on board with him taking out Hillary Clinton.
Now, Andrew Yang is running for something though, right?
New York mayor. Yeah.
New York mayor. That's right.
I even donated a little bit of money to him because I'm not in New York, but I the cause is to prove his idea works, and what better place to prove UBI than New York? He's playing political chess, and it's a smart move.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're right.
He had the option to be on the on the what's it called, the Secretary of Technology or whatever. They haven't created that yet. It sounds like that's going to be something that they're going to create in the White House. But like he said, he didn't really want to be president. He just wanted to he's like, either I'm going to be president, the people up there are going to sound a lot like me. What do you know? We've had stimulus, and the goal is to get consistent stimulus back in the economy. And it really would help things like this, go on and on about UBI. Have about 1 million times. But I'd be surprised to see it go very different than Kamala being president for the next 12 years after 2022 rolls around, Biden steps down.
Yeah.
Depending on how the Senate goes, who knows? I don't
Yeah.
know. But I don't know. I mean, I try to be optimistic about politics as a whole. But the fact that so many of them believe in or follow conspiracy theories just to get votes, I don't know which is worse, whether they believe it or whether they're just, sandbagging people.
Oh, no, the ones who, Marjorie Taylor Greene certainly believes it, but.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How many of them are batshit crazy, and how many of them are? I mean, that woman is batshit crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
fucking crazy.
But all these senators and congressmen who still they try to at least pretend that they believe that the election was stolen from Trump and whatnot. I mean, they don't really believe any of that. I'm convinced of that. They're just.
How could they?
But they don't want to.
No evidence.
Yeah. But the base still, 85% of Republicans, according to the last poll I saw, still believe that the election was stolen. So, nobody wants to get hassled at the airport like Lindsey Graham did the night that he said he didn't believe the voter fraud was real. So they're going to go along to get along.
Yeah, because then he flops right back.
Yep.
Nobody is held to their word at all anymore. It's
right.
He says one thing and he says another, and it's just like yesterday didn't even happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What is going?
Yep.
Is this real life? Like David after tennis thing. Is this real life? This is weird. It's so odd that people can just get away with whatever, say whatever.
It's so pathetic.
It is. It's horrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But these people continue to. It's down ticket balloting is the problem. People just downvote either way, and that's not to say that it doesn't benefit Democrats, but any old person can run and get elected if Democrats win. So it's I don't know. I think that as time goes on, we're going to see some serious breakdown of these parties, and even the Democrats are going to have to deal with a reckoning because they really kind of push through candidates.
Mm-hmm.
They've done it 2 elections now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of angry people about it. They're really
Yeah.
in the streets rioting still about that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, both
Angry at
parties.
Biden still.
Oh yeah. Both parties have their fissures, you know. I mean, the Republicans, obviously, you've got the, you know, the people like Ben Sass who, you know, and Mitch McConnell who would like to get away from the Marjorie Taylor Greene and the QAnon and the Trump. But then, you know, on the left, you've got, you know, you know, the sort of the AOC and the Bernie people who would like to pull the party leftward, and Biden who would like to hold the middle. And I think it, you know, intellectually, I think it's very healthy to have these divisions in the party. In the parties, I'd rather, you know, I think in one sense, it's good to see robust debate within a party instead of it being a monolith. But politically, of course, it's disastrous for the parties,
You know,
because you know, you accomplish more when you're all moving in the same direction.
I really think there should be more than 2 parties,
Oh
as
yeah.
far as like, you know, and I think the libertarians, if they really got it together and they just ditched some of the Republicans, I'm sorry, guys out there. I know there's libertarians that listen to this, and I'm sorry if I'm alienating you in any way, but I also don't give a shit, and I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you exactly what I think, because that's what I do here. I think that they're wrapped up in too many things. Like, nobody cares on whether you think abortion is the right to choose, or whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. Nobody cares about that. The argument is government shouldn't be involved.
Right. Agreed.
So, you know, and then the argument goes for healthcare too.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people disagree with that, but government shouldn't be involved. And if they just go down the middle, government shouldn't be involved at all across everything until it gets to maybe defense. But then even then we should be, you know, not interventionalist. You know, we need to just kind of keep to ourselves and keep safe. But maybe, you know, have some foreign policy, you know, that whether I agree with that or not, I'm just saying that these are the libertarian principles that they should just follow hard line. Either you're with it or you're without it. You're out. You know what I mean? The same way the Republicans and the Democrats do, and really put themselves together. And they have done that in the state, haven't done that outside. And we're the Liberty State. We should really be the forefront of that happening if we are, you know, following the line of libertarians. We don't all have to agree. But the point is we don't need government to tell us what we can and can't do about it. Like, I want to be able to speak my mind. I want to be able to have the right to protect myself. Like, I want government to stay out of my house. You know, I don't want to have to put them up for room and board. And then, you know, they shouldn't be able to just stop me whenever they want. Papers.
Right.
Fuck out of here with that. You know.
Are you ever surprised though at how many libertarians got on the Trump train?
I
That's
am
bizarre to
blown
me.
away by it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just it's gross, because they're like, he's the most libertarian president we've ever had. No. No. I mean, yeah, no. He's not. I would say Reagan would be significantly more libertarian in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into the in-depth details, but I mean, there was a lot of things that he felt, you know, it should be not the responsibility of government to do certain things. And Trump would have steamrolled all over that, you know, strict authoritarian policy.
Yeah. I mean, it's I said something about it one day on Facebook. I was like,
He's literally the opposite. He's an authoritarian. That's the polar opposite of libertarian. Like,
yeah, like I don't get all these libertarians who are like, yeah, we hate authoritarianism, and then, you know, a sort of weirdly charismatic guy comes along and says, "Oh no, authoritarianism is actually awesome. Trust me, follow me." And they all go, "Oh, okay."
Yep. Yeah, I it's so awesome to see how many people just like follow the carrot stick thing. Like,
it truly is a cult in every way.
In every way. It sucks people right in, and then
it's bizarre.
And then all the speaking points are the same. They're all Republicans. If the one thing I can say to them as a party, they are on message about everything. It may be bullshit, but they all have the same thing. There's always the same talking point
Yes.
for everybody. It's all uniform. It's always the same thing, even when it came down to things like Kyle Rittenhouse and
Yep.
like all the argument points are exactly the same. And I was in argument about that actually because I was torn. The kid was stupid, shouldn't have been there in any way. He was also definitely going to die if he didn't shoot any of those people. Like they were going to kill him. The mob was angry. He had a gun. The shit was angry. And I saw how that went down. And yeah, he got something thrown at him. He panicked, kind of overreacted. And after one gunshot went off, he was targeted for death. Like he wasn't going to survive that if he didn't, let a few of those things go, which again, he shouldn't have been there. It shouldn't have happened. And that's why he's responsible for their death.
Exactly.
Because if he wasn't there, they wouldn't have died.
Right.
At the same time, if they weren't in a riot, they also wouldn't have died. So it's a fucked up situation because not everybody there was in it for protesting. As always, do I think that's okay to get shot for that? No, I don't. Right. And I think people really got out of hand, and it's sad because people lost their lives because of it. Yeah. And I think that guy made some dumb decisions, and now he's got to face the law because he did cross into a state that didn't recognize reciprocity of any of the laws in his own state. 17, not 18. With a rifle that was semi-automatic, I'm pretty sure, with multiple like heavy round magazines, like 20 plus at least. Most states aren't really on board with that. I don't know about he really was either really dumb or he knew he was getting into. And that's the whole play stupid games, win stupid prizes thing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And he is going to pay the cost for that. But we really see among the Republicans this steady, consistent talking point where they're always saying the same thing all together. It's like they watch the same episode of Fox and Friends in the morning to prepare for the day.
You know what I think that is? And actually, it's funny. I kind of touched on this today on the show, too, because we were talking about Rush Limbaugh, the passing of Rush Limbaugh. I think the reason it's easier for Republicans to do that and to really get all on the same talking points than it is, say, for Democrats is because Republicans have all this conservative political talk radio, and they all are repeating the same messages and the same talking points all day. All these different hosts like Sean Hannity, and not Rush anymore because he's dead, but of course, in this part of the country we have Howie Carr and all these others, Laura Ingraham, all these people.
Somebody will fill his void too. So
yeah, exactly. So liberals don't have that same talk radio infrastructure. There's a few, but Republicans dominate that space. And I think that that's what has helped them to be so on message, as you put it, is because they have this sort of, almost this sort of publicity arm of the party that distributes that information to everyone who listens and everyone who participates.
That's true. It really is quite amazing how organized it is.
Yeah.
And it's like they didn't mean to do it. Like I can't think of the word that unknowingly like they're doing this just kind of almost subconsciously. Like they're gaining all the information, it's spreading around, but everybody is so on message. I don't even think that they realize how on message they actually are. Like it's kind of creepy a lot of times. And the only time I see that people deviate from that is if they don't know what to say because they didn't get that talking point for the day,
Yep.
And then the following day they're like, oh, you know what I was thinking about the conversation we had yesterday. No, you weren't. You saw somebody else make a point for you and you felt like you wanted to have one up. And if that makes you feel better as a person, then go right ahead.
Well, hey, as Rush's audience used to say, mega dittos, Rush.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Holy
mega dittos. Yeah. We all think exactly the same thing. We all have the exact same thoughts, and we don't allow any independent thoughts or ideas into our heads. Mega dittos. That's something to be proud of.
And then they come at the opposite end of the spectrum for doing the exact same thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily exist, in that, like, as much as I can hold Democrats and left accountable, that they're not. It's not the same thing. It's not like
Right.
brainwashed media. So like this has been culminating for a long time, and maybe it's how easily evangelicals are sopped into believing whatever it is that they believe, because it doesn't seem like it's very. There's a whole lot of integrity behind it. I feel like,
Right.
and I hate to smash on people's faiths, but I really don't care about these really crazy, you know, off the wall conservatives that believe that Trump is some savior, and
Mm-hmm.
And then meanwhile they're talking, well, he freaking had a rape charge against him and Jeffrey Epstein by a 13-year-old girl, and then she disappeared. Her name was Jane Doe. Like, well, so money didn't pay for that, right? That money didn't make that go away. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
But he's some sort of conservative, like, deity. Like, what the fuck happened to the golden calf and the idol thing? Isn't that like a goddamn commandment?
Yeah.
You guys are literally worshiping the guy.
Yeah.
They are. There's no way around that. They
Yep.
are doing that.
Absolutely. He is their Messiah.
Is their idolatry? Is that the word? It's
Idolatry,
it's
which is a
idolatry.
sin. Yep, which is a sin.
Oh man.
Yep, but they do. They worship him.
Some more mental, Olympic hula hoop gymnastics to get through that thing. Like, how do they justify? I don't know. I'm repeating myself, so I definitely think that it's probably that point of the conversation where we wrap things up. But I'm glad we got to talk about a lot of this stuff, because I haven't really got to dig in with politics as much as I'd like to. And it's been wild lately. It really, right? The Capitol thing was just crazy. Just crazy. Watching that happen just blew my mind. I was where are all of everyone? Like, they would have never been allowed if it was a Black Lives Matter protest. That would have never happened. There would have been oceans of people in between them and the Capitol.
And they would have been tear gassed. And
we saw it that day when they have a photo op in front of a church.
Yeah.
We saw what would have happened if
Yep.
But they wouldn't like that appearance. They wanted the appearance of liberty. They're marching on the Capitol, until they weren't marching anymore, and they were breaking down the windows and getting shot.
Well, there's a rumor now. There's going to be another attempt on March 4th, because the QAnon people, also commonly known now as Republicans, they believe that March 4th is the actual day that Trump will be not re-inaugurated, sworn in again. March 4th.
What?
Yeah, I don't know where they get March 4th from, but that's when Trump is supposed to be sworn in again as president.
Biden's going to come down with the full force of the military on that crowd. I can see that happening. And if that happens, then it is going to be a mess.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to happen. I mean, those people need to be friggin' just break out the fire hoses. There'll be a lot of fucking flaccid, obese people flopping around like morons in red capes. I'd love to see that. Just break out the hoses. Like, you know what? You were hitting people with rubber bullets, like not even shooting them at the ground, at them directly. People died because of it. Least you can do is break out the hoses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'd be the first
Benny Hill music in the background. People are falling down.
Be the first bath some of those people had in a while.
He's going for broke on that. Hey, it was good. I'm not gonna say that doesn't apply. Some of those rallies, like, oh man, Rochester. I remember the first time I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Was back when Trump was in Rochester, and that guy's like,
we got a problem here. They're called Muslims. And we know the president is one. And yeah, I remember I could find it on the internet somewhere. It's so stark in my mind. You're such a ignorant piece of shit. I'm just like, thank you, CNN, for showing the rest of the world what Rochester, New Hampshire is all about. The last time you were here, Anderson Cooper, you were on the corner of Main Street, right near where the courthouse was, when the Hillary Clinton building was being held up by the Leland Eisenberg with the road flares. Asshole too. I absolutely abhor CNN coming to Rochester again. No, I'm just kidding. It's just Rochester's terrible. I hate Rochester. I spent some formative years there, and
isn't there I know there used to be, I don't know if it still exists, isn't there a Facebook page called Rottenchester where
there was? It was so awesome. It's gone now. I'm pretty sure.
Is it gone?
Yeah. Because they were pretty relentless. And oh, it was awesome. It was good times. And you know what? They should be, because fucking Evan Post and the idiots.
Oh yeah.
Morons. Yeah. Evan Post is a celebrity, a New Hampshire celebrity, because of that.
Yep, that's true.
And I remember the time I went off on him because he came up to my wife's window and started like demanding money. And like I drove down and I found him, and I'm like, same place, same Home Depot. I'm like, you ever come up to my wife? He's like, well, how do I know if it's your wife? He's like, if you come up to anyone's wife ever, I will find you. He's like, how am I going to know? I'm like, do the math. Carry the fucking zero, dude. I'm like, I'm just going to beat you anyway. Like, I hated him. I'm not an angry person. I don't like fighting, but I genuinely have a disdain for that guy. And I've seen him do so many screwed up things. He lit this kid on fire one time after like doing some awful things to the kid that I'm not even going to go there. I don't want to get sued or anything because of that's some dipshit. Not that he could, really. They're true. They happened. He was arrested for it. And the kid was lit on fire. And I actually met the kid too. Good guy. Sad it happened. Yeah. Screwed up. Rochester garbage. Absolute garbage, panhandling for life. Good for you, man. That's great. But when you start to threaten people and make people physically uncomfortable, that's where it crosses the line. You can ask whoever you want. The minute they tell you no, you need to carry the fuck on. Yeah, I don't know. I went on a rant about Evan Post, and that's great. That's how we're going to close out this episode of Abstract Transmissions. Don't be that guy, and be nice to each other, as always. We say that a lot because people aren't being very nice lately. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you listening, and we appreciate Matt and all of the guests for coming on the show. I don't say this enough at the end of the episodes. We appreciate you for coming on the show. It's been a good conversation, and
thank you for having me anytime.
It's nice to have a good vigorous political conversation, because there's not enough of them happening at all. People are trying to avoid politics like the plague, understandably. But we appreciate you guys that consistently listen, and I repeat myself often, but again, be fair and nice to each other. There's the only way out of this is figuring it out together. I'll definitely give Yang the credit for this, because it was his slogan, the not left, not right, forward thing. It's true. We can't be so divided on things. We got to figure out a way. And I know that's tough, because there's some really crazy people out there that we've got to try to find common ground with. But there are ways to, you can get anybody to do pretty much anything according to the sales psychology, sadly enough. It's not off, actually. On that note, mental manipulation is always the way to go when you're trying to sell a dishwasher. We appreciate your time and effort, really, sometimes through the end of these episodes, because I know it's just the anticipation and I drag it out. But that's what I do. I like to drag it out a little bit more. We're going to keep talking for another 5 seconds. As always, Abstract Hears. Abstract.
Abstract Transmissions.